Hello and welcome to HIVE Thrive Hour. This is Shadows Pub, and I'm here today with co-host Menno and our very special guest, the Kitty Girl. And I say the very special guest because Kitty Girl is one of those people that keeps showing up in Discords pretty well all over Discord, especially the Hive related ones, of course. And I have a particular attachment because she's been an OG on the Pimp Your Post Thursday show since its beginning, which actually has its anniversary this week. Welcome, Kitty Girl.
Well, thank you so much, and happy anniversary to PYPT. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we're what?
So, how many years has it been now?
Is it 9 years now or 8 years? I've lost track. Started in 2017, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's right. And I came in 2017. So, yeah, 8 years. Yep.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Wait a minute. Was it this week? No, it was last week. Thursday after the Canadian Thanksgiving. That would be last week. It was the anniversary. Shows you how I'm big on dates. So you've been on the chain since 2017, and what brought you to Hive?
Well, I was actually on another site prior to coming to the blockchain, and there was a fellow, I don't know how he found out about our legacy chain, but he was on it. And he came over to the site where he and I had been blogging for years and said, "You guys need to check out this blockchain. You can actually get paid for blogging." Most of us said, "Yeah, sure, right," and didn't believe that it could be true. And then he waited a couple of months. He finally came back and said, "Okay, you really do need to come look at this." And he actually gave me a link to the SteamWorld tool first. That's the first thing I saw before I ever even saw the blogging site, and I was very impressed. And I finally came on.
And then you brought another mutual friend over.
That's true. I went back and I said, "Hey, he wasn't joking, folks. You need to come look at this." And there were actually several people that came over, about, I don't know, 8 or 10. But the one you're thinking about is Bluefin Studios. Yeah.
Yep. He's still around, not as active as he was, but he is still around. So you
And
were
he was
blogging.
actually one of my closest contacts and or friends, whatever you want to call it, on that other site. So I was thrilled that he came over.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, he's a pretty good dude. Uh, so you were already blogging over on the other site, so obviously you just brought that blogging over. Uh, what were you blogging on?
Well, it's the site that is actually now defunct. Um, they were one of the first sites to raise up arms against all of the other Web 2 sites that were collecting data on people, and they said, "We will never collect data on our users. We value our users and their contributions to our site, and that's it." And so it was a wonderful thing while it lasted, and it's a sad thing that it's defunct. But now we have Web 3, so that's okay.
I probably should have been clearer. I was talking about the subject that you were blogging on.
Oh, the substance. It was basically the same, but definitely the blockchain has gotten me to up my game. I'm writing better blogs, I think a little bit more in depth, and doing a little bit more research to be sure that all of the, well, I mean, the thing is, if you say the sky is blue, that's fine, but on Hive, we need some kind of, proof that the sky is blue. you have to you have to really carefully do your research on things that aren't just common knowledge. And so I've definitely upped my game in that regard. And but the topics are pretty much the same. Yeah.
And you do a range of topics, don't you?
I really do. I like variety. I think variety is the spice of life. There's nothing wrong with having a niche. If you are comfortable in that niche, you only want to write about jewelry or you only want to write about food, that's fine. But I think that for most of us, a little bit of variety goes a long way.
And I think to a large extent, that's what we see people doing on PYPT when they're presenting. We see a range of subjects from them usually.
That's very true. And I think that keeps PYPT fresh and interesting every week.
It does. You never quite know what's coming, although we usually get something on food. There might be somebody in this room who has a tendency to share food related posts. You know, not that I would notice or anything.
Yeah, if we don't have a post about food or a post about gardening, at least, it's not a PYPT.
So you're involved on, well, maybe I should ask you if you've ever done a count. How many discords are you involved in helping out in?
Oh, I haven't even counted discords lately. The
Lately.
ones that I'm really in, well, I do take account periodically of how many discords I'm in, whether or not I'm active in them or not, but I haven't done that lately. But the ones that I'm active in, I haven't even counted those lately.
Which ones
But
would you
I've
say
got a
you're the
couple of
most?
discords.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say a couple of discords I have are related to communities that I'm involved with. But then I am a moderator or an admin in several others. And then there's a couple that I'm just members of. But I'd probably say maybe a dozen or 14 or somewhere in there that I'm really, really active in all the time.
And you were involved in creating some of those communities.
That is very true. Yeah, the very first community that I helped create was the terminal. And that was It was there was a person on the legacy chain who was welcoming new members because she was welcomed when she came onto the chain and saw how valuable that was to get the feedback and the encouragement. So she was turning around and welcoming other new members that came in after her. And then after a bit, she realized that we needed a place for people to come and ask questions and learn etiquette and workings of the blockchain. So the terminal was created, and it's called the terminal because it was never intended to be a community per se, but just a place where people could come and ask questions and then find other destinations to go to, communities on the blockchain, just like a travel terminal. And we would teach people the workings and etiquette and then send them off into all of these other communities, the food community and travel communities and so forth.
As I recall, that person got welcomed into the welcome wagon and then found their way into PYPT from there.
That is very true. Yes, you remember correctly.
And the welcome wagon had its roots in a witness chat. Interesting the connections that get made, eh?
That's true. Yeah, the witness chats in PYPT have birthed so many things. Wes Philbin's thoughtful daily post and the welcome wagon and just and Spunky Monkey for the kids and all sorts of things. It was a wonderful thing.
So, Menno, I think I've got you set up to carry on asking some questions here.
Of course, of course. I'm gonna talk all kinds of crazy stuff. But I want to say, since you guys are talking about welcoming, do you guys not remember an account called Bodie McBoatface welcoming people back in the day?
I do, yes, I do recall that.
Yeah, that was one of the first people that welcomed me when I made my account. Now, Kitty, you and I are, I think, are about the same time on obviously on the legacy chain and now here. Um, and we've seen it all, right? Like I in that sense, I think all of us share the common experience of all the ups and all the downs. But that being said, your case is not very unique. Sorry, the opposite. Very unique because you have been involved with so many projects over the time. It's not that you stuck to one, but you were like, if not participating heavily, at least aiding and in a way or another a particular project. Now, so let me ask you. the difficult question here, because nobody knows. I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to answer that either, because nobody knows. How do you do it? How do you balance the time to be able to be in so many discords, help out with moderating so many things, including this one that we're on right now, participating on PYT and pimp your post, all that stuff? How do you manage it? Do you actually have a plan? You have a schedule? Okay, from this time I'm doing this time, or you just wing it?
I don't really have a plan or a schedule. I basically just wing it. But one of my advantages is I'm an older person, older than most people think I am. And so I'm actually retired, and I have taken the stance that Hive is my job. And, I basically spend most of my time every day on Hive or Discord. And my biggest modus operandi is to try to support and encourage and help people to do their thing. I'm not one that likes to be in the spotlight so much. In fact, I wouldn't have said no to you, Shadows, inviting me on this show today, but I told Shadows, surely there's somebody more interesting than me that you could interview, you know. But she said, no, we want you. So here I am.
Well,
But
I agree with
yeah,
Shadow, but and maybe you are the bass player of the band. Very important to the band. You're just not
well,
the
I
lead
do
singer.
love bass. There's a good
Uh,
bass line that can make or break anything. True.
that's right. That's right. I think you're a core pillar of the community, and I think most people would agree with that. I sure know quite a few people that would agree with that 100%. Uh, but
Thank you.
another question for you, Kitty. Now that you said that you made Hive your job, why did you decide Hive is your job? What is it about this place that makes you go, hey, you know what? It's worth putting so much effort into this thing. Why is that the case?
Well, I think crypto is the future for sure. But we have got such a good, solid community on Hive. I mean, Shadows and other people have said plenty of times in the past, come for the crypto, but stay for the community. We have just got a wonderful community of people on Hive. Sure, there's a few rogues, a couple of people we might want to boot out the door periodically that we come across, but basically, it's a good community of people. And we've got the people that blog, we've got people that develop, we've got people who arbitrage, we've got people who like the games. There's just such a diverse group of people, and we cover just about every topic there is uh, on the blockchain. So yeah, it's definitely a community that I feel worth supporting. So
It's not for the money. Like, right, I honestly, and I mean this when I say it. I one of the reasons why I I sleep at night, although the prices are so low as they are right now, is because we're all still here. So it kind of gives me this. I know there's like a floor valuation of sorts, something that is always gonna retain the lights on, because as long as there are people here, Hive is not going anywhere. And I know that to some people this is not very reassuring, because they go like, oh, but that doesn't mean it's going to go up. Well, yeah, who knows if it's going to go up, but it means that it's unkillable. And I don't know if I can say that about any other crypto project. I mean, we've survived already the craziest things. We survived a hard fork, and you and I were there. We saw it all, the drama, the fights. But when you survive those kinds of things, it makes you also not be afraid anymore. Like, do you feel fear like Hive is going to go somewhere?
no, not really. It kind of concerns me when the price dips, but um, it usually springs back. Crypto is kind of like the stock market and everything else. There's ups and downs, and you just have to kind of grab the reins of the bull and ride it.
Ride the waves, as some people say. Ride the waves.
And another
Now,
thing
let me.
too,
Mhm.
talking about why I'm sticking around with Hive and putting so much time and energy into it. One of my other projects besides the terminal that I co-founded was Ladies of Hive, with Silver Saver 888, and we are giving a specific space on the blockchain for women and their voices talking about their rights, their issues, And I fully believe in that. I think it's a wonderful thing. I've been in many women-centric communities on other platforms, but I think this is probably one of the best I've ever been in. And I just want to be sure it keeps going. So,
Yeah, it's like this is not my saying, or maybe maybe I heard it from you. I don't know. Sounds like something you would say. Like Hive is whatever you want it to be. It's like a box of Legos. And some people have built some really awesome projects on here that have a lot of value that is not connected to the value of Hive per se. It's just a community that they've been able to build. And I was going to ask you about Ladies of Hive. If you could pretend I know about it, but pretend I don't. Can you explain to me what that is all about?
yeah, it's just a community, and we have a Discord as well that is open for primarily women's voices, although we do allow gentlemen who are sensitive to the rights and issues of women to be in the community as well. In fact, we've had several gentlemen who have written for the contest and placed, won a prize. So, and I think the contest that we do weekly are one of the reasons people keep coming back. And yeah, we give prizes, but the contests are really writing prompts to get people to dig deeper into their thoughts and feelings and share with others and learn and learn about each other and make friends and grow together. And that's really kind of what Ladies of Hive is all about.
Seems like it's such a simple thing, but yet so powerful. That is kind of how you build a community, right? By being able to find a place where you can be you can be vulnerable, you can share
Yeah,
intimate
that's very
things
true. And
without
there's
the fear of judgment.
not all of our posts are um, things that would make men run away, talking about pregnancy and hormones and all this, but there are a few of those. But the, the big difference is that I actually heard a quote on NPR radio not too long ago that was really quite interesting. The show was talking about the differences between men and women, and the author of some book, which I don't remember now, but she was saying that men are usually happier when they are doing something together, when they are building something together. Women are actually happier when they're sharing experiences, talking to each other, commiserating together, learning and growing from each other on a personal level. And so that's the reason we need Ladies of Hive, I think, is to have a place for the women to grow and talk to each other together. And it's a good combo. We get people in the terminal, we teach them the etiquette and workings of the blockchain. And then Ladies of Hive is one of the communities where we could funnel them to later for them to thrive and grow.
Yeah, that is powerful. That is very powerful. And honestly, I mean, I'm not trying to get too political, but one of the things that we take for granted, I guess, not me specifically, but people tend to take for granted are the rights of women because we think it's a battle that has already been won, and yet here we are already again having these discussions, as if it's not settled uh, in 2025, which is mind blowing to me. Mind blowing. So like these
That's very
spaces that
true.
yeah, these places that create visibility and kind of raise the voice of women and their concerns are very important for society, not just for Hive, but for society. And having a place where people can do it without without being judged is so key and very powerful. Now, Kitty Girl, another question before I pass it back to Shadow, um, is if let and this is I guess a little bit of dreaming, but if you were a whale, and I say this for you to give me your best pitch, but if you were a whale, if you were able to control a lot of the resources of the blockchain of Hive, what would you be doing different than what you're doing right now?
Wow, that's quite an interesting question. Um, well, I think curation is definitely a worthwhile thing because the blockchain isn't just about blogging. Like I've said before, we've got games and we've got arbitrage and development in a lot of different areas. And there's room for a lot of tools and things on Hive, but currently I think that blogging is probably a big part of what goes on Hive, and I would love to see curation projects step up their game a little bit more, maybe. Um, I don't know that I'll have to put some thought into that.
That
I
sounds
think
like a
this is a
fun
relevant
subject.
question. Yeah, yeah, that sounds like something you could do for a week of your contest. What would you do if you were a whale? And I think it's a great conversation to be having too, because a lot of people think they can't do much because they don't have the means. But then if they did have the means, what would you be doing? That's a good question. It's a very good question. What do you think, Shadow?
Yeah,
What
it
would
is.
you do?
I'd have to agree with Kitty Girl. I think that as a whale, there's a certain responsibility to curate and curate in a way that is uplifting to some of those that maybe don't get noticed as much. Because it's a tendency when we become whales. There I go, speaking in the already there. Um, there's a tendency I've noticed with some whales that they kind of curate the people that are kind of up closest to them, or they get to know them the most, sort of thing. I I think that that's where a project like James's "Hey, Have You Met" would really benefit from having a whale or two keeping an eye out for it.
I totally agree. In fact, I was hoping to wedge "Hey, have you been in here somewhere?" Yeah, that's like a sister project to the terminal, and that's the one that does look at the introduce yourself tag and welcomes new people to the platform. And we have a lot of people who look at that tag and they go and upvote the newbies posts, but then they don't necessarily stick around and continue supporting newbies posts. And so a lot of them get discouraged and leave the platform. Of course, a lot of them were brought onto the platform thinking Hive is a get rich quick scheme. I'll post a couple of blogs and I'll be rolling in the dough. And that's not how it is. You've just like if you go to a party, you can't sit in the corner and expect people to come to you. You have to get out there and mingle and network with other people before they realize that you're there. And we need to make people aware of that. And I've had a lot of people, they'll write two blogs and then they'll come on the Discord and why am I not getting upvotes? And well, have you looked at other people's blogs? Have you commented on them? Are you upvoting them? And they'll come back a lot of times and say, well, no, do I have to do that? And say, well, if you want to mix and mingle with the group and get to be known, yeah, you have to. So yeah, if we could curate the Hey Have You Met posts a little bit more and give the newbies that are featured, and see, James does a lot of work to vet the newbies that he features on his posts. And so if we could give them a little bit more encouragement, I think that would go a long way.
I think though the other thing that you've kind of raised there, Kitty Girl, is that there would have to be some balance there on the curating, so that it doesn't raise newbies' expectations. Those curation votes come along, and if they drop off, they're kind of like, oh, nobody's bothering with me anymore. And again, you've got to train them to go and actually build up their account. So that balance would have to be created in there somehow.
Yeah, that's very true. In fact, maybe we could leave a curation comment saying we're upvoting you because you're you're putting in some effort now. Keep putting in that effort, and maybe we'll come back.
Eh, you never know. So, Kitty Girl, I want to kind of circle back to Ladies of Hive in that you were involved. You weren't a founding member, but you were part of helping to administer at least one, if not two, communities that were geared towards women before you started Ladies of Hive. How much influence did what happened in those communities have on how Ladies of Hive has been operated?
Well, it gave us a little bit of insight into how to do things and how not to do things. And yeah, it's basically it was a learning experience. And of course, some of the other women centric communities that were on the legacy chain went away just because the founder got involved with life. And we know life happens sometimes and takes us away from the blockchain. And but then there were a couple, I think, that ran themselves into the dirt because of the
Yeah,
way they were being run. So we made sure not to follow in those same steps with the ladies of Hive.
there was at least one of them that definitely needed to get a life. I do recall that situation.
Yeah, true.
But it's kind of paid off because Ladies of Hive has been a stable community.
Yeah, we just celebrated our fifth anniversary. It was wonderful. Yeah, September of 2020 is when we launched. So, yeah, 5 years and we are still going strong. Thank goodness and knock on wood.
So you're here in Hive, the Hive Discord. You've co-founded the Ladies of Hive. You help out immeasurably at PYPT. What are some of the other communities that you're involved with?
Well, as far as communities where I help, like answer questions and things like that, I really believe in Peak D. Nothing wrong with decency, nothing wrong with Hive.blog, but I'm a Peak D girl. So
I remember
I
you
want the,
promoting it.
oh yeah, there were times at Pimp Your Post Thursday, I'd come in and you guys need to use this platform. It's so good. And people were probably getting tired of hearing me say that. So I go into Peak D's Discord and I help answer questions there just to give the devs a little breathing room because I've seen so many times people will come in and they'll even tag the devs and ask them a simple question. And I thought, well, shoot, I can answer that and give them more time to keep developing. And the same in the keychain Discord. I do that to let Cedric and Quentin have a little bit more time to do their development work. And I answer the simple questions. I do the same in this Discord and a couple others that I'm in. But I'm also a member of the Alliance and Silver Gold Stackers Precious Metals collection community and several others. And I love the different communities I'm in.
So do you find that there's a lot of discords that are have gone inactive or are they just active at certain times?
Well, I think with Hive and the discords related to it, there seems to be a little bit of a proportional use based on the price of the coin, which is really sad because when the price of Hive drops, that's the best time to block because you will earn more bang for your buck, during those low times. And then if you power it up and hold it, you're going to be so much better off later. But people tend to leave the platform when the price drops. So Discord usage drops as well. When the half price shoots back up to 30, 40 cents, our Discords will be hopping again. So it kind of depends. But there's a lot of people that are steady users of Peak D and Keychain. And yeah, those Discords kind of remain active with questions and things. It's just some of the others that fall off so much.
Yeah, and you're right. When the price drops, that is the time to build because you get that much more when it goes back up again. I can remember when I first started uh, Hive Steam, that legacy stuff was up at around $5 because it was in that initial rush where everybody was all excited about it. And then it trailed down to 8 cents. And what I earned at the $5 was fine, but that stuff I earned at 8 cents, it was pretty damn sweet when it started selling at a buck. The return on it was fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
but not everybody is willing to put that effort into just get the long haul.
Yeah, sadly, people do tend to be a little bit short-sighted, and I think a lot of us are that way. We'll see the price of Hive drop, and we'll, oh no, and go into a panic. And then we just have to remember, but this is the time, if we have any money to buy, we can buy. This is the time that we need to block so that we can earn more. We just need to put on our long vision glasses and go with that.
Yeah, of course, the last what it's got to be a couple of weeks, anyways, if not the last month. The crypto market itself has really been a bloodbath. I think at one point I saw Bitcoin almost back to 100,000. So
Yeah, it's been a real roller coaster ride lately for almost all crypto.
yeah,
It's insane.
from what I'm seeing, it's being impacted more from the outside economy than it used to be in the past.
I think you're probably correct about that, and it's probably because more and more people are learning about crypto. There are still some people out there that think all crypto is a scam. It's all about drugs and illegal guns, you know. But fortunately, lot of the media has been turning people's view of that around, and they're beginning to see the value of crypto. They're becoming increasingly dissatisfied with the fiat banking system in their own countries, and they're realizing, ooh, crypto might be the future after all. So I think a lot of that is influencing the price. Yeah.
We just got to learn how to ride with it. So, one of the things that you are known for, or we have called you, is Kittypedia. And that is because if you ask a question during a PYPT show, I'm going to use that as an example because I'm familiar with it. 9 times out of 10, the person who's going to put the answer in the chat first is going to be Kitty Girl. What's your secret on that, on having that information at hand, or do you want to share it?
Oh, really? I have to give away my secrets.
Well, I gave you the out.
Well, I have a tendency to remember a lot of trivia, and I also have my own Discord, which I have some notes stored in. The terminal, where we teach newbies the etiquette and workings of the blockchain. We have a lot of questions in there that are repeated over and over that I have archived the answers to in a particular room in that Discord. And so I've got a lot of places that I can quickly copy and paste info. And oddly enough, I'm on a fairly slow internet connection, but I can get to Wikipedia pretty fast and type in something and get a link, for somebody who's asking about stuff. But a lot of it is copy and pasted from my private Discord or from the terminal. I've got a list of Discord links, but I also do a lot of anticipating. Like I kind of figured during this show, somebody would say, what's the link to the Ladies of Hive Discord? Or what's the link to the terminal Discord? Or where did you get your username? And I've got all of that stuff sitting here in Notepad waiting to copy and paste it if I'm asked. So that's another secret. It's kind of anticipating what might be coming and like when you've interviewed people before, like the keychain devs or whatnot, I'll load the keychain website in a browser tab so I can quickly copy the URL and paste it if needed. So a lot of it is just anticipation.
Well, you're good at it, and even with you distributing the pimp tokens to the people that present, you're still just as quick as ever. I've really kind of got to the point that somebody asks a question, I just pause because I know Kitty Girl's going to drop the answer in.
Well, and funny thing, just the other day, somebody asked a question in the general chat and here in this Discord, and I went and grabbed the link and came back, and I swear Eco Instant beat me like by 2 seconds posting it, and I was like, oh. I got to get better.
He's stealing your methods. Okay, since you mentioned it, and I know it's a favorite question of yours, where'd the name come from?
Well, I'll post the story in the chat. A lot of people assume that I am the kitty girl because I like cats and I have a bunch of them. They figure I'm a crazy cat lady with 20 cats in the house or whatever, and that's not the case. It's because I'm like a cat. And this thing I just pasted in chat is something I put in a post one time on the legacy chain where we were tagging each other and challenging each other to say, where did you get your name? And so, yeah, I'm quiet. I can be a sweet and gentle person until you push me into a corner, and then I've got my claws I can unleash and I can fight. I'm pretty quiet moving around. I tend to be a little mysterious, but I don't mean to be. I love naps. I love seafood. I like fun things, and I'm so curious about everything. So that's where it all comes from.
So, is it just on the blockchain that you used the Kitty Girl, or was that a name that you've used elsewhere?
Oh, that's the name I've used elsewhere. It became like my brand on many sites. And then one time I went to a site that somebody already had that name and that ticked me off.
Nervalism.
I, well, I'd seen a lot of people use the name Kitty Girl on sites, so I put the in front of it, and that worked for a while to keep it unique. But yeah, I'm the Kitty Girl on several other sites.
Well, the just makes it, you are the original, the one and only.
Oh, that's funny. I just see in chat, Jim Crypto says, when she goes into Starbucks, her name is Kitty Girl.
Well,
And actually, there are some people in real life that call me Kitty. So that's perfectly valid. Yeah.
yep. I think we pick up those names and people get used to calling you them. I know when Alexander was here, um, she referred to me as Shadows most of the time. And I'm trying to think when Dream was here if she did the same thing.
Well, and
We kind of intermixed the names.
well, that's true. And I know what your real name is since you and I've hung out so much in PYPT, but I don't think I'd ever call you by your real name. I think I would just call you Shadows. Yeah,
It would
absolutely.
it would probably seem strange. Yeah, so somebody dropped my real name. No names mentioned here, but that individual was also used to using my real name. At that point, she wasn't used to using the shadows. Yes, you are
Yeah,
getting used to it
absolutely.
now. Yeah, you are used to it now. That is for sure. That's okay.
I
I'll
think
even call you Artemis. Go for it, Menno.
uh, I think nicknames, since we're talking about that, I think nicknames say a lot about the person. Like, obviously, I was having this conversation, funny enough, because I wrote a big blog about it. You know, how what Kitty just wrote here, for example, to me is beautiful because it explains how she had embraced this name and found a way to relate to it at a, I would call it even a spiritual level. And with what I wrote those months ago, I was like, this is exactly what I was referring to. It's a way for you to baptize yourself into this identity that is more aligned with who you are, who you've become, everything that you've experienced, and how people see you and all this stuff. So I find nicknames to be so powerful. And I'm having this conversation, right? And then all of a sudden, Bud Coins goes like, "So what is my so what does my nickname say about me?" And
Oh, that's
I'm
really
like, "Oh,
funny.
you got me."
So what does it say, Menno?
I was like, I was trying to have a deep conversation with my friends, and then Bud Coins is like, "Okay, I don't know how I feel about this."
That is hilarious. I love that.
That was awesome.
Well,
so
I'm actually thinking possibly about reviving that challenge on Hive. I think maybe somebody did it 4 years ago or something like that, but it never really took off. But I'm thinking about reviving that challenge and saying, hey, here's what my username means. What about you? Well, what's yours? And yeah, tag two or three of your friends, get them to participate. I think it'd be fun to bring that back.
Oh, definitely. You should do it. That's pretty cool.
Actually, that was something that was done over in the legacy chain a lot, was those challenges. And they got passed around pretty wide. Yet they don't seem to catch on here.
Eddie has but Eddie, I can guess what your nickname is. I can guess. They probably call you El Güero. But yeah, that's what they probably call him. I never asked him this question, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. I have an interesting nickname, El Pinche Güero. See, I knew it. Uh, I have an interesting nickname in my family, and this is a fun fact about me. If you ever meet me in person, you will see that I'm not exaggerating. But I have a huge head. Like my head is huge. My head is so big. Obviously, I'm a big dude, but my head is so big. I've never been able to wear a hat or none of that stuff. I have to get them special made. Obviously, the rest of my body fits, so it's fine. But it made my family always call me Big Head, like Cabezon, Big Head. And and it was like because every single person in my family, my uncles, even well, my mom's the only one. She calls me Andy, but all my uncles and cousins and all that call me Big Head. Uh, I was in town, and all of a sudden somebody starts screaming, "Hey, Big Head!" And I'm like, "Oh, my family turning around, Big Head!" And they're coming towards me, and I'm like, "Do I know this person? I don't know who this person is. Do I know this person?" And then turns out a guy behind me also had that nickname. We looked at each other, and then from now on I call him Tocayo, which means like we got the same name, but we don't. That's his nickname. But like we became friends because we both get bullied about having a big head.
Oh, that's a great story. I love that.
Usually when we hear the term big head, it means they've got a huge ego. That doesn't seem to fit you.
I well, I would hope not. It's just like I'll tell you a funny story so you see how bad this is. My family has always been into baseball. Uh, so my grandpa played baseball. My uncles played baseball. My uncle even represented the country in like sub 17, but back when he was young. So they wanted us to play baseball, and for baseball, I did not. I don't understand why this is the case, but it seems to be the case. You have to start really young. Like they start you when you're like 6 or 7 years old, and there's like different leagues, and they have like silly names, like first the Ducks, then you are the ponies, then you are like stuff like that, right? At least here in Ecuador. And so when they go like grandpa was like, oh, I want my grandchildren to play baseball, they took me to classes. And the first day I only did it one day because the first day they couldn't find a helmet for me. It's like, no, we can't have this kid play it without a helmet. so so it's always been the case.
Oh,
So
that's amazing.
there's a question that came into my mind and I went right out of it again. Kitty girl, if
About my
if you could have a pet project to start from scratch on the chain, what would it be?
Oh, wow. That's another heavy duty question. Gosh, I'm really not sure. I would have to put some thought into that, I think.
Well, then,
Because there's so many possibilities, you know? I mean, the thing about Hive is it can go anywhere, it can go in any direction. It can grow vertically, it can grow horizontally, you know. There's so many things we can do with Hive that, yeah, it would really be hard to pin it down.
it would, wouldn't it? It could be in the form of a DAP, or it could be a community. It could be just about anything, or it could be both. Um, What do you like most about Hive?
Well, I love its versatility. As I just said, it's so versatile, you know. I love the fact that it's fast. I mean, 3-second block times. That's incredible. And the fact that it's free, basically, and feeless. I mean, we've got resource credits, which are akin to mana and gas on other blockchains, but the resource credits are free with, based on how much hive power you've got. So, and you buy hive and you stake it. It's still your hive. It's not like you have to pay somebody else for gas like you do on Ethereum and other blockchains. You're not giving away money. You're taking your money and putting it somewhere else, and then you get resource credits in exchange. So that's really free. And I think being scalable and free, you know as far as fees go, and fast, those are the things I love the most about Hive, in addition to its versatility.
What do you like least?
Oh, that's a good question too. Probably the thing I like the least is we still have yet to find a way that everyone agrees with for handling bad actors on the chain. Um, we've got Hive Watchers, we've got Build a Whale, we've got several other, the Hive Downvote Rewards, several other initiatives that do policing of the chain for bad actors, but nobody agrees with them all. And there's so many people that think Hive Watchers is doing a bad job or Build a Whale is doing a horrible job. And I keep telling these people, shut up, you're complaining, and write a proposal for a better system. If you think you can do it, don't complain. Take that energy and shove it into putting a proposal out for a better system and promote it. Let us vote it. We'll unvote Hive Watchers. We'll, whatever, and we'll vote this other system. You know, and we need a way to, put some of these scammers and fishers and identity thieves and plagiarists and whatnot at bay, so that Hive can grow, because there's so much weeds out there that it's hard to see the flowers sometimes. That's the big thing I think about Hive that I don't like. We need to be better in that regard.
Yeah, it's difficult getting people to come to consensus, and then it's becomes even more difficult maintaining and enforcing the consensus. And boy, do we really realize that on a decentralized chain where it's kind of like herding cats, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. And what a lot of people don't realize too is they come onto the chain wanting to succeed and wanting Hive to succeed, but then they'll turn around and not credit somebody for a photo in a post where they don't tell where they got the photo, and we have to remind them, please do this. And well, why do I have to do that? And it's like, well, if you take a photo from some other site that belongs to some other person and you don't give them credit, that's image plagiarism. And not only does it make your account look bad, but it makes the Hive blockchain look bad in the eyes of the crypto community. So we need to make people aware that your bad actions, even if you don't mean to do any harm, bad actions on the chain like that are going to drag the reputation of Hive down into the dirt. And, so people that really want the blockchain to succeed need to be aware of that.
And it's really amazing how some people will take affront to having that explained to them. It's almost like, how dare you?
Yes, exactly. And that may be because we're not doing it gently and encouragingly enough. I don't know. But
I think there's some people, no matter how much you try to do that, they will still take an affront. And some of it may actually be a bit of an embarrassment because they've made a mistake, and instead of just kind of going, "Oh, I made a mistake, I'll do better," it's like just let's just brazen it through and see if the world will bend over for me.
Yes, very true. Very true. But I have had some people lately that I've cautioned them, they'll use a watermarked photo from, iStock photo or Getty Images or something. And I'll tell them, hey, you can't use that if you didn't pay for it. And, oh, okay, thanks for letting me know. And it's always great to hear these people giving, positive feedback to your responses to them. I think it's wonderful.
Actually, it's nice to see that hear that acknowledged because we do tend to notice the people that react negatively, and we maybe don't give enough kudos to the people that respond positively. So, Menno, do you have anything else that you'd like to?
Well, since Kitty's talking about this subject and it's something that fascinates me. Kitty, what do you think of the idea? Okay, I shared it here in chat, and Jim and I being kind of silly, but what do you think of the idea of having eligibility to win rewards connected to a real reputation, not the ones that we currently have, because the one that we currently have is more like a RPG experience points, battle scars kind of thing, but a real reputation, one that it's more connected to maybe people upvoting or downvoting you as we discussed with Mo Knows all those months ago. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, I think it is. Now, I've not been watching the chat so much. Um, I'm keeping my eyes closed and formulating my thoughts for the most part. But yeah, I remember we've always complained about the reputation system in the past few years and how it really means nothing. And that's very true. I've seen people who've only been on chain for a year or two and they've already surpassed me in reputation, because they're getting votes from whales, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and a lot of people have thought about coming up with a better reputation system. I think there have been a couple of people that have made um, some suggestions. I think somebody even wrote a proposal and it just didn't get funded or something. But anyway, yeah, we need to revamp that, and I think we need to reward people somehow, some way from day one to get them to stay. But to have some kind of an eligibility system, maybe for big rewards or something, might not be a bad idea. It's something to think about at least. And we definitely need to overhaul the reputation system in some way, shape, or form. It's just we're having trouble figuring out exactly how to do that. And just like with the stopping of the bad actors on chain, even though two or three people have suggested things, we don't we haven't come up with a consensus, a majority of people that agree that, ooh, that's the way to do it. So we just
Yeah.
need to keep refining our ideas, and we need to talk to each other, maybe combine, person A has one idea, person B has one idea, and we can't decide between the two. Well, why not come up with a hybrid idea that takes some of person A's and some of person B's suggestions and meld them together? And we just need to be a little bit more flexible that way, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I um this idea that I was and of course we're not going to talk too deep about this, but if you guys are curious, there's a long time Hivian all the way from Legacy Chain still around, Mo Knows, and turns out that his nickname is also very well chosen because he actually does know, and he came up with a very cool reputation idea system that I think makes a lot of sense and recycles a lot of the logic that we already have on chain. So that connected to the availability or eligibility, I'm sorry, that's the correct word for rewards, makes a lot of sense to me. That would be awesome. And I know you're also in Hive Watchers Discord, because of course you are. So I know you'll see a lot of abuse happening and people like saying, "Oh, I didn't know," and of course that's a challenge. But I will also go ahead and push back on this one thing that that maybe it's a cultural shift that we need to do, because I've heard today, again, we talk a lot about blogging and the right way of blogging and what have you, and I love blogging. I'll blog myself, but I think Hive is slowly but surely also moving into other directions, and I think that's a positive thing. I think micro blogging or whatever you want to call it is a great thing, despite how effortless it can be, how it's like, oh, it's just 2 seconds, but it's a great thing for social lubrication. That's the best word I can come up with right now. But of course, games happening on Hive are also a good thing. If we come up with even more projects that can run on Hive that are more geared towards economies, that's a great thing. So like Hive can be so many things. It can not it doesn't just have to be about blogging. It doesn't just have to be like blogging the right way. Oh, make sure that when you use a post, you don't use caps all over the place because that's screaming. Make sure that check your spelling because otherwise, yes, that can be that, but it can be so many more things. And I think a lot of the old cats that were here, the ones that have been around for a long time, have a big role to play in that transition.
Yes, I
Uh,
totally agree. And I think a lot of people they get the wrong idea. Like you were talking about the spelling of words. Yeah, I mean, most of us who've been around the blockchain for a long, long time know that we are a global community of people from so many different cultures and countries. Um, a lot of the people on Hive do not speak English as their native mother language, and they're learning English as a second language. And we cut those people some slack. Um, Most of the time. If they misspell a word, we either call it to their attention or we just let it roll past.
yeah.
Things don't have to be absolutely perfect in the posts. Yeah, that's totally true. I hope that wasn't too much of a tangent from what you just said.
I
No,
think
no,
some
no, it's not.
I think some people take what it's normally writing conventions. This is if you're going to write, this is the good style of writing to use, and they think it's an absolute law. And when they come across people who don't, follow those conventions, they seem to go after them like they're lawbreakers, and that can be pretty off-putting for people.
Yeah, to me, there's much worse infractions on the blockchain, such as tag abuse.
Yeah,
That's one of the things I've really been up against lately. I want to read posts about Hive Fest. So I go to the trending page for the tag Hive Fest. And I'm seeing where some doofus in some other country has bought a phone and he puts a picture of it and then there's 15 pictures of him standing on a bridge not even holding the phone, and that's it, and he used the Hive Fest tag. Give me a break. I mean, if your post is about food, use the food tag. If it's about music, use the music tag. But if it's not about travel, if it's not about High Fest, if it's not about food, don't use those tags. I mean, so yeah, that's a problem. But
it
yeah, as
is, and
far as just
that's a
misspelling the
carryover from Web 2, where they do the keyword stuffing.
yeah, true. But just as far as misspelling a word, that's no big deal.
Yeah.
Perfect grammar, nah, don't need perfect grammar as long as I can kind of understand what you're saying. Yeah, so we need to cut some of these people a little slack.
So we've come up on the top of the hour. Actually, we've gone past the top of the hour, but that's okay because that meant the conversation was still working. Any final thoughts, Menno?
Well, all I'm gonna say, Kitty, is that we appreciate you bigly. I personally do, but I know the community does a lot, and I'm glad that you accepted. I know that you were really hesitant to come to the show to talk about you a little bit, but I'm extremely happy that you did. I think for most people, you are one of the pillars of the community. One of those people that one of those users that's always going to be around to help out. And I would even say like a health check of the community. If Kitty is around, if Kitty is involved, if Kitty is there, then there's a good chance that the whole thing is vetted. That means like, oh, everything's straight, everything's good, things are happening. So, in that sense, you've achieved it just by being here, by being you, by helping so many people out over the years, 8 years and counting. So yeah, I appreciate the crap out of you. I'm saying it bluntly like that, and I'm glad you're here. Um, and here's to 8 more years. I don't know how much longer we're gonna be. Uh, hopefully, Hive will remain for the rest of my life. But for whatever long we got of this experiment, I hope you know we can endure it together. And I also hope that in the next year, you and I are going to be laughing about these low prices and talking about how smart it was that we stayed active and kept them posting or what have you.
Oh, I hope so too. And thank you for those kind words.
I have to agree with pretty well everything Menno has said. I know that you were reticent about being the center of attention even for an hour, but at the same time, I think that we need to kind of pay attention to some of our unsung heroes and let the community know about the people that are working behind the scenes and yet keeping things going for us all. So I appreciate you coming on, Kitty Girl, and thank you everybody that has showed up to listen in, and those that will be listening in on the recording. Um, Menno, do we have next week's guest?
Um, I- uh, as far as I know, we've been trying to get a few people. Chiren, I don't know how you say the name. He was going to do it, and then I don't know what happened. He went missing. If anybody knows how to get a hold of the guy, he doesn't seem to check his Discord. That would be amazing. But besides that, I don't think we have somebody else. We rescheduled with Carl
Ah, right, that's the
from
one.
yeah. So and I think Raymond is also missing in action. Raymond speaks. So we're gonna have to announce it later, I guess, who's happening because we don't know we don't have a guest yet. You know who could be great? What do you think about this, Shadow? We could maybe reach out to They Call Me Dan, since he has quite a story to tell, and maybe he could be next week. That would be awesome.
Actually, before he got sick, we had been reaching out to him, and believe it or not, he was putting us off mainly because his wife was having an issue with it. I believe it was a broken hand, and he was needing to be present to help out with the kids. So yeah, would be an excellent time to reach out. IBB Tammy, could you mute please? I was
I have a
wondering.
suggestion too.
Pardon?
I have a suggestion for a potential guest too, if you want to put this on your list. Uh, what about Roland P? Uh,
We
Looking back to Hive Fest last week, if we were to get him on and ask him, how do you think Hive Fest went this year compared to other years? And how do you think chain culture goes? Did it turn out as well as you hoped and whatnot? And hear guest thoughts on it.
We had mentioned
So,
to him about a follow up visit after Hive Fest, but this might be a little bit too soon. So I think it's a good idea to reach out to Dan. At this point, we'll get Roland on a little further along. I don't know how many people got caught up in it, but I know that there's at least two Hivians who have been delayed 14 hours getting out of Kuala Lumpur.
Oh, that is terrible.
Yeah, that would be Alexander in bitter irony.
wow, that's crazy. I did not know that. I was wondering why they're not on here, Alessandra, for specifically.
Yeah, they actually should have been in the air right now, but she messaged me this morning around 9 my time, and she said that the plane had been delayed 14 hours.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So I told her that if in 3 days' time, when she still hasn't got out of Kuala Lumpur, she could probably wave hello to the Prime Minister when he is supposed to be arriving there. Then she thinks I might be out of there by then. Anyways, we should wrap up for today. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for listening, and most of all, thank you, Kitty Girl. Oh yeah, you too, Menno. Bye for now.
All right,
I mean,
guys, thank you
yes,
for coming.
and
Thank you, Solo.
bye Wilma.